Hey guys, my name is Momo, and welcome to the very first Dingwall Podcast, where I get to talk about bass and life with some of the world's hottest, most innovative, cutting-edge bass player mofos that the world has to offer. And today, I'm tripping out with none other than Phil Rehn. He's a composer, producer, bass player, and Dingwall artist. Phil, man, I want to thank you for taking the time to trip out with us here on the Dingwall Podcast today. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks, Momo, for having me.
Oh, are you kidding me, bro? You are a bona fide mofo. The world needs to hear what you have to say and our conversation today. So let's get into this. So you're out in Rotterdam, right?
Yeah, I'm right now in Rotterdam, in a suburb from Rotterdam, actually on a little island, and even 1 meter below sea level. So,
that's really good.
If you're gonna hear some water floating in, you know what's happening.
That's amazing, dude. So is like Rob Vanderloo your next door neighbor or something, or?
Yeah, actually close by. But I'm actually binational. I'm in the Netherlands and German, and I do a lot of commuting there and back.
Okay.
So actually, when I happen to be here, I'm kind of having it a quiet time. I'm not so much in Rotterdam downtown or so. So I met him a few times, and it's awesome. And I really like his stuff, and his new bass is awesome.
Like, what are the chances that two Rotterdam guys that play kind of different styles of music actually both play at freaking Dingwall?
Yeah, we were also surprised when we met each other. I think it was in a music convention, bass convention in Germany called Guitar Summit, and there we met the first time with Sheldon also, of course, and then we suddenly realized, hey, man, we're both from almost like 10 kilometers apart from each other. Awesome, man.
That is amazing. Dude, you should just go pound on his door one morning and say, hey, let's have coffee, bro, right here, right now. That's what I would do. I'd be kicking down his door first thing in the morning and waking him up and seeing what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I will let you know. I recorded and...
Do it, dude. Bust in with your cell phone and get the look on his face. Tear him right out of his sleep, you know?
Yeah, let's do that.
You're like the man who likes to take like odd time signatures and lock them into some kind of like 4 on the floor kind of feeling anyways. You squeeze it in there.
Yeah, but I think, it probably has to do with inspirations that I had when I first time got in contact with such music. And actually there are 2 beats that I like the most and that I use the most, probably, you realized. And one thing is that you subdivide your beats in 5. So you have actually a normal 4/4 beat.
Yeah.
And all that you do is you divide inside those beats, not into 3 or 4 anymore, but just in 5. But you still have this 4 on the floor approach. It's probably a little slower, because you got to make the space for the 5 beats. But yeah, at the end, it's a 4 on the floor beat, right? That's it. And the other thing is, what I like is beats that alternately divide in 3 and then 4 and then 3 and then 4. So you actually got like subtuplets, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I do a lot of stuff with sequencing and program beats, and have a lot of cool drummer guys who do this shit with me, and are patient enough to sometimes they look like octopuses when they try to get their stickings in line with 5 and subtuplets and stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm very thankful to have them. But the very first time I got in contact with this beat, when I was in the band of an Afghanian pop singer. This guy happened to live in Germany, and I actually joined him probably for just 3-4 gigs when he started out. Mm-hmm. But he was very successful at the time. He was like in the let's say the Afghanian pop scene, which is a worldwide scene, right? Because like half of them live all across the world, America, Australia, and stuff. And his latest single was really in this beat in 7, and really with drums and loops and breakdancers and a real big production, really like also with a lot of Western approach to it, really like bouncing, and then we were playing concert here, actually in the Netherlands. But what I just remembered from this evening was seeing 4,000 teenagers jumping and clapping like this It felt like I was on another, I was on sort of other planets. Like you just imagine another planet, and the gravitation is different there. Like everything would feel different. So this was the feeling I had. And I always had something with music from all over the world. I like Brazilian music, Indian music. That also gave the contact to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, from the heart, I'm actually a funk guy, old school funk. The Meters, Larry Graham, this stuff is really my thing.
Yeah.
So I actually took these experiences and this vibration with me, and then always felt, oh man, I want to do something with those kind of rhythms, with those kind of gravitation, what I experienced there, like on this kind of odd meter planet. Mm-hmm. But then do my own stuff with it. Do something with a funk approach. Do program beats that are really bouncy and yeah,
That's amazing, dude. I got to tell you, because I can feel the influence of the musical cultures blended in with all the modern tidbits and stuff that you bring together. And it kind of I had the same kind of feeling that happened to me. I used to run the biggest raves when raves were coming in. And very much like you, we were flying in DJs from around the world. And I remember standing in front of 5,000 jumping kids, just like you, with these drum and bass guys from England, like doing this kind of music that I had never heard before. And I'm watching all these kids bounce, and I said, holy shit, this is the stuff. But in those days, all these techno guys, they were against real instruments. They wanted nothing to do with guitars, nothing to do with real basses. It had to be the 303s. It had to be all the mixture of those things. And I remember wanting to mix in real instrumentation with that kind of driving beat and stuff. And you went ahead and did that on a cultural level, which is even freaking cooler, I mean, the way you clapped when you said those guys were jumping to that beat, I can see that. I can see that way, because it's not a 4/4 clap that we're doing, right? It had that.
Yeah, it was really awesome, and also actually the band was awesome as well, because it was Greek, Afghanian, Armenian, a Czech, a guy from Czech Republic. So it was such a colorful band. It was very nice. It was a very nice experience, and somehow in my who said it? How you say that? Career or whatever.
Yeah.
I often ended up in those kind of meetings. I have a good friend from Sao Paulo. I make a lot of music with. Right now, it's the Corona time's not so really possible, but usually he would come over one time a year. We would play together, and he's really nice, really Brazilian style percussion guy. He knows really all those instruments from A to Z, alfaia to zabumba and everything.
Yeah.
Every little drumming thing that exists there. So, because somehow I think I attracted that in my life, that I constantly met people who had an interesting drumming background. And of course, I mean, I'm from Germany, so Germany does not really have the richest rhythmical tradition in itself. It is more like, it has the strong classical and harmonic tradition. Mm-hmm. Rhythmical, when you're from Germany, you have to take from somewhere. Of course, you take a lot of stuff from the States and from England and from pop rock culture. And so I actually went very, how you say that, very naive into this, without my own background, but I could feel this stuff. And then after a while, meeting people from all over the world, what you see is the thing that connects everything. The subdivisions, or the way how you make out of those subdivisions then the music, how you fill it up with music, That became then like a language to me, and that is since then that is what fascinates me the most about music and about creating,
That's amazing. I think that's another really cool thing about living in Europe, right? That wouldn't necessarily happen like if you were living, say, in the States, right? In the States, you can reach cultures by going to a different neighborhood if you happen to know somebody. But in Europe, it's not that far of a hop and a skip and a jump to really get to a whole other culture that is authentically really there, right?
Wow, yeah. Yeah, as you say, that's true. I actually never really thought about it that way, but you're right. The cities simply are also smaller. And so the possibility to simply run into someone or meet someone is probably easier. Huh?
It's higher, absolutely. So this brings me to my next question, which is, I want to talk about your drum and bass duo. Is it called Pluck? How do you pronounce that? Pluck?
We wanted to have the word pluck, and then make something cool out of it. So we put a Q in the end, hoping that it looks cool and hopefully sounds cool as well. And for Germans or Europeans, it sounds cool. You know, that's often the problem. You don't know how it comes over in actually really America, Canada, or the.
Okay, well, it's a very interesting name, and it's a really mega cool project that you have with your drummer bro Ralph Guska. How do you pronounce his last name there?
You did it perfect, man.
I did it right. Oh,
I
good.
Think you do it better than me, and I sometimes even make typos in there. Gustke.
Okay, that's good. I can't believe I'm really bad at that stuff normally. So it's kind of a futuristic EDM electronica dance hall style where you have just bypassed guitar players, keyboard players, and all by yourself you're using the synths, really cool effects, and down and dirty bass grooves that you bounce off of Ralph with. And you're basically doing what you were freaking born to do right there and then. You guys sound totally awesome. So tell us, how did this duo come together? What's going on with that, brother?
We come both from the same area in Germany, Southwest Germany. Mm-hmm. So we knew each other already a long time from local band jobs together and stuff. But it actually really started when I recorded my album. When was it? Actually, 10 years ago. Then we got really more intense together and checking out the stuff that we actually also talked about earlier. These odd meter beats, 5, 7, 11, whatever. Mm-hmm. I wanted to have him because I know he has the sophistication and the chops to do something awesome. But he's also a real groove guy. He plays a lot of very good soul and famous pop acts as well. Mm-hmm. So he has those both sides, because I did not want to have the odd meter approach too jazzy or too free. I wanted to have it still punchy and say, hey, this is our beat focused. Yeah, that you have patterns and that you have a focused approach on what you do, where you put fill-ins, and that you really have a good flow. But not too jazzy, not too much impact all the time. And of course, a good sound perfection. And also, he is also a musical director. So he was just perfect to start to work on that. Yeah, I was very thankful he was there with his stuff from the beginning on. And so in the beginning, we were more busy with my stuff. And then later we realized, hey, let's play some duo gigs with some electronics, a little bit less bass focused, less melodies, less improvisations. Also guitars, no guitar solos, keyboard solos, more like a bit electronic approach with some drum and bass spots there as well. And so we stand in there with two laptops. Yeah. I have a little DJ controller and we have a lot of pedals and yeah, it's awesome. And then we started to really compose together. In the beginning, it was a bit more from my side. Mm-hmm. But then we started to really compose together, and he's now also coming with beats in 9 and 7, and so he's also into this stuff now. Really cool.
Amazing.
We drive a lot train in Germany.
Okay.
So we have, for us, it's normal. Well, right now nothing is really normal, right? But yeah. When it's going to be soon normal again, I hope. We go often with train to concerts, right? We would grab our bass, go to train, drive 5 hours, and then we step out. Very comfortable, very, very, very neat, very smooth. You put your laptop open. What do you do 5 hours? Yeah, okay, you cannot sit on Facebook 5 hours, right?
Oh, so you play on the train?
Well, not playing bass, but you could. But I clap my laptop open, do Ableton Live, and then just start to program my beats, right? And then we have these fast trains. They go 300 kilometers per hour. Oh. I have my headphones on. I program my beats in 5 or 7. And you see outside the windows, the landscape shoots by, And then this was where a lot of music probably came to life. Because I simply had the time. I had a nice focus. I could try out a lot because these hours in the train. That's what I remember. And him too. Sometimes he also came back from tour with lots of new material that he was sent over, you know?
Wow. Wow. How cool is it to ride on one of those super fast fucking trains, dude? Like, it goes 300 kilometers an hour for real?
Yeah, he cannot always reach a peak. That depends a little bit on the tracks, right? Because he can reach the max speed probably in like very less populated areas in the woods somewhere or so. But that's really his max. I think sometimes even faster. Mainly, it's probably something around 200 or 180. But there are then these snippets where you can go really high speeds. He's awesome.
Wow. Wow. You know, I can picture you like staring out the window, working on some beats and having the speed and what you're seeing affect what it is you're programming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this what I meant. This you get in such an amazing flow and also focus, you know? You see the train shoots into your Ableton Live sequencer and then you come to such ideas. Hey, 16 steps, okay, why not put it to 10 or 20 steps or 14 or, you know?
I knew you were a visual guy like that because some people, you know, music to me has always gone beyond just notes and scales. It's kind of converting visuals into tempos, beats, moves, and grooves. So, you know, if one was to say, let me take away everything you understand about notes for 1 second and scales and just play yellow, green, purple, and blue, or play 300 kilometers an hour with trees ripping by. You see what I mean? I think there is something to be said, and when I hear your music, whether it's conscious or not, again, I'm going to say because you're in Europe and you travel and you do all these cultures are so accessible in such a short period of time, and that you're open-minded to this, you enjoy eating that kind of food. I think it just puts you in a kind of a category that you can't be messed with. You see what I mean? It's so much more than the classical, typical way of learning and converting what you learn into music. You know what I mean? I think that's such a wonderful thing, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
And why I mentioned the train rides was also because it was always, for me, a time frame to really try out new stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you're at home in your studio or you are on the tour working, you happen to do a lot of your thing, you know, and so there was always the time frame to open up and really do something that I maybe normally would be too busy for or something.
Exactly, and you get the beautiful visuals while you're going with it, as opposed to, oh my God, when we were younger and stuff, we used to practice in these like dirty little kind of practice rooms, you know. Sometimes other bands used to share it with you and shit, and you got everybody's equipment kind of moving around and nobody wants you to touch their shit or them to touch your shit, you know. Totally different than speeding on that train with your laptop, getting ready to program your next song.
Yeah.
You know? You gotta love the future technology and how to bring that together with the values of the past and merging, you know what I mean, the futuristic aspects to it. I think it is so cool. I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
In the old days, you know, you'd be in the studio and some guy would be working on his kick and snare for like 2 days. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh man, that's where I stepped off. At one point, I really lost it on a guy. I said, are you kidding me? You've been working on a kick and a snare sound for 2 fucking days. What is this shit? And then I said, that's it. I did it another way. This is where I invented first or second thing I do. That's what I'm using. Because if I was live and I did that, I couldn't take that back. You know what I mean? It came out. People saw it. People heard it. They will judge it. They will like it. They will hate it. And, you know, so learn to live with it and move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. That's a good one. That's a good one. But, you know, I like what you said, because actually right now we live in a time where you have the most musical opportunities ever before.
Yeah.
Creatively. Oh. You have for no money you get a sequencing program. For very few bucks you get all the equipment that you need. For just some mouse clicks you can listen to all this music. You can listen to symphonic metal, reggae, Indian music, Afghan. You can listen to anything. Tuareg blues. It's just one mouse click away, so you can. It's all at your fingertips right now, and that's so exciting. And my hope is actually that not only what I'm doing with my music, but in general, that you will hear that also in music, that there's more variety coming. But I don't know, it's not always hearable in the charts, of course, but it's actually exciting times to make music.
It is a very exciting time. And again, I'm going to stress that I understand you so much more when it comes to why I feel the visual aspect when I listen to just the audio, when it comes to what you're doing. You are baking it all into the same freaking cake. You know what I mean? Which is what I think music needs to be. There's an evolution that keeps happening in growth. And like you say, we are in a time where inspiration has never come more instantly, where you're able to react on your growth. You see what I mean? It's not like you have to wait to take another lesson next week to figure out, oh, okay, I'm better today, I'm going to be able to do something. Last night, I started looking at concerts on YouTube, and I realized, okay, now I remember why I love music. Because, when you're in music, like I've been on a lot of sides of the business. I've been an agent, a manager, a producer, a director, I've done everything for the love of music.
Wow,
and
cool.
Throughout that, you kind of get excited in the beginning, then you figure out what the truth is, then you realize, these people are really not for me. They don't want to evolve. They're happy where they're at. They just want to keep looping their shit over and over again until they die. And that's never been enough for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing personal, but evolution is where it's at. So anyways, I fall on the 2013 concert of Nine Inch Nails where Pino there is on bass, right? For the freaking whole show. And I have to tell you, it is not only the best light show. I'm going to send you the link. It's the best light show I have ever seen in my whole life.
Wow.
It's an experience. It's
That's
like you're
cool.
watching a movie at the same time as you're slammed into a techno kind of rave environment, and everything is perfect. So when you watch that whole band, you watch that whole execution, you say, oh my God, there's no posing here. This guy is the real shit going all the way through. And it felt so good to see that still existed, because I'm going to tell you, I almost forgot because of everything that is happening out there. And when I get to hear someone like you who takes that visual and the musical knowledge and the cultures and brings it together as a bass player alone or with a limited amount of people, including the orchestral shit you did, which we will talk about. I think that's so refreshing and so inspirational, and people need to understand that. Because of all these visuals that we have now, we are in the best position ever. And that would never happen without all these tools we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, yeah. But it just came to my mind still because you mentioned in the beginning, how do I get it done? As you feel that my beats, even when they're odd meter, they might still also appeal to female, right?
Female friendly, remember that.
Yeah. So when I would arrive from my train ride, my wife in the Netherlands would pick me up, and then I would show her my new stuff, and then she would have an ear and have a listen over my ideas, and then what she picked always had quite an influence of what I worked further with, and then I remember still when I came with the first quintuplet beat, and she said, "Oh yeah, I can move my ass on that one." And then I said, "Oh yeah, that's good. It's probably a good one. I go further with that."
Dude, you're giving me fucking goosebumps. This is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, she has a Caribbean background also, and maybe you listen and also different. She's not a musician, not active player or something, but she has a good sense of rhythm and a very. She just feels the energy, So that's it. Sometimes I had the experience that as soon as you make music yourself and you listen to something in the odd meter context that goes beyond your own capabilities, you end up that you block yourself and cannot feel the flow anymore. You because you try to get a perception of what you hear, but that actually blocks you from feeling it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And, so her input was always very good for me. I'm very thankful. The album would not sound like it sounds without her. Later, I made a video where I used also the performance of a breakdancer. He also had a cultural background. I think something South Asian, Indian or Pakistan. I don't remember, something like that. But awesome breakdancer. He danced like it was a natural thing on the world. He danced on a quintuplet beat, no problem. So, because he also felt it, is not a musician himself. He just feels it. He can make his moves. He can dance. He can go onto the energy and do his thing on there, And then it doesn't matter if it's 4/4 or 5 or whatever,
No, but you know what? This cultural shit, like you see, my parents are Moroccan, okay? So a lot of people don't know that. So imagine, I am raised in those days. The whole family used to come over. There were 40 people in the house, and they'd put on music, and everybody was bouncing around and dancing. I actually have movies of this happening as I'm 3, 4, and 5 years old, and you see me bouncing to the music.
Yeah.
All these different kind of amazing Arabic cultures coming together with these kind of beats and these kind of things. I was raised on that. And it automatically kind of blended into it. And if you're just a regular 4/4 person, when you're hit with some odd meters, you're not gonna understand where the 1 is, right? And this is where the female friendly starts to disappear. And this is where, if you haven't come up with, you have found a way to blend like the extra sound, even if you're doing some super weird shit. The second you pump in your synth bass sound and stuff, and all of a sudden that drum and bass beat comes in, boom! Something just happens where you've reminded these poor suckers that, hey guys, don't worry, we're there, you know what I mean? So this is amazing.
Yeah, man.
I want to talk to you about the Phil bum for a second. So what has happened here is, I want to talk to you behind some of the stories and behind some of these grooves. I really think that it is a fantastic record. I picked a few of my favorites, and I want to talk about them to you and what I feel. And there's one song in particular that at the end I'm going to tell you about that totally blew my fucking mind in a way that I'm going to give you a description that I think is very accurate of you as a human and what it has done. Receptivity. I just love the hybrid that you got going on here. You have multiple styles of bass going on in the same freaking groove. A little Marcus feel, that orchestral movie soundtrack vibe, the amazing vocal hook, and that Phil Rehm staple bass sound that just pounds through it like you're getting hit in the head ever so elegantly. Okay? What's the story behind that song, and any cool memories or anything to do with that?
Maybe I can tell the story from the back. And what I did at the last of the track was to add the vocals on top. Because until then I had the instrumentals, the beats, the composition developed to that state. And I thought, wow, it has some Indian flavor, definitely. Yeah. And again, at that time, I ran into a musician from India. She's a singer. She is also an actress. She is in India also at least at that time, working a lot as a background singer for movies. Mm-hmm. Because like in these Bollywood movies, like every actor sings a lot. They have a lot of singing in their movies, but they often don't use their own voices. They have a backup singer, and that is like open communicated. So this singer is the famous voice of this famous actress. Or whatever.
Okay,
yeah, and so I met her because she was in Germany on tour with her theater playing, and then I told her, hey, I have this Takita Takademi beat. Would you mind to have a little recording session together? She said, yeah, okay, let's go ahead. And then we started 10 o'clock in the morning, and 8 o'clock in the evening we were finished, and it was awesome. And it was with that really this of course the Indian touch, but also this really sparkling atmosphere. I don't know how you call it. Like from another world atmosphere, kind of. Really
the
got
vibe.
on top.
The vibe
Yeah.
is absolutely smashing with her.
Yeah.
Like really, you picked the right woman for the right job, and I get
Yeah,
goosebumps.
it was just the right time and the right moment, you know. And she did her stuff on top. Everything was recorded already. Also my solos. So she had really the space to try out some stuff to really get into it and find the right spot, what she can do, what she can add, you know, like spheres to make it a bit wide, to open it up, and also sometimes just singing the bass line. You know, I found it so funny. So the bass plays the melody and she's singing the bass line underneath.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. No, I love that song. I love that groove. I love the production. It just makes me feel really good. You know what I mean? It's good
awesome.
vibe. And
Cool.
music that makes you feel elevated is rare these days, in my opinion. You got to search. Or you got to listen to the old stuff. Gravy Zappa Part 1 and Part 2. Now I gotta tell you, here's a couple of pieces that are out of control, I think in the best way. And now I have a question, okay, that I have always wondered about. And Part 1 of Gravy Zappa, okay, and the whole laid back behind the beat, D'Angelo style relationship, a rhythm section, okay? I think that your average listener or player might sound like, hey man, is there something off with the computer here? The timing still seems that's like it's in there within itself, but it's always coming back like the flamming kick, trying to keep up with the flamming snare, moving forward no matter what. What I want to know, okay, what is that actually called when that stuff goes on? Is there a name or feeling for that? Where does it originate from, okay? And how much goes on after the recording and editing? Like, I mean, do you go and you push it even further at a time I've always wondered that, in order to give it more of that, and you just like stay in there? Feed me some information on this shit.
Well, I think to the quintuplet approach in this kind of slow tempo backbeat R&B thing is something that is used by quite some drummers, right? That they would take the quintuplets and then play on the 1 and the 4.
Yeah.
That is then not about playing quintuplet or odd meter or any of that. It's just more about getting a subdivision that gives you this kind of laid backish liquid feel, you know?
Yeah.
So I think this is where the idea originated from. And I remember this specific track was quite a, how you say that? It was quite a heavy project in the studio, I remember. This was one of the hardest.
For sure that's got to be complicated to do because Part 1 and Part 2, you're not doing any of that. You're on the beat, you're moving forward.
Yeah.
But Part 1, it's got that D'Angelo kind of, whoa, it's always fascinated me about how people actually stick to that. You know what I mean?
Actually, it was like the pre-production, which we also played on then. You know, there were like really a lot of pilot drums recorded already. Well, was a quintuplet beat and with quite a, let's say, a quintuplet sophistication in it. And not yet this D'Angelo-ish vibe that you heard, you know?
Yeah.
But as the recording was really quite heavy and we recorded a lot. The initial session was drums, percussion, and me. And we would record 3 days and every track we made probably 8 takes. We didn't really play takes, actually. We played groove sessions. You know, I wanted us to play long how we say that, long rounds, long loops, so that we would get in a good flow, and I would search them for good moments of 2 or 3 minutes where I have a good flow to work further with.
Yeah.
But still, this track was one of the most challenging ones. So the chosen we had, was to downsize everything a bit. Okay, so this is how we ended up with this. I did a lot of percussion overdubs there. I had a great percussion player. Actually, I have three different percussion players on this album. Was very thankful that they had the time and found it cool music to play on. And there also I had Tilman Bruno, friend of mine. Unfortunately he died, but he was actually
sorry.
He was, but he was big involved also in the early stage of the album. And then there's also a nice quintuplet shaker in there, a small quintuplet shaker which has actually a big influence on the whole vibration of the track. And that is then from Abdelrahman Kriya. He's a Moroccan, from Moroccan origin, lives in Europe, in Germany. Also plays with Sting, and he's also an awesome percussion player. This was wonderful to work together, and he gave an amazing extra warmth and juice to the whole track.
And he lives on your tracks, dude. It's amazing.
Yeah. This is actually something that I in general love about instrumental music, right? Because it transports a vibration and a spirit, but how you visualize it, what you think of, what actual story you make out of it, happens in your own mind. I always compare it a little bit like with food.
Yeah.
And it's never like, you would never say, I only eat this kind of food, right? You're right. I mean, I love a burger sometime, but I also love a good steak. I love sushi. I love vegan food. You have it all there, and it's nice to have all the variety there is. And I have the same thing with music, like I also wouldn't like to only listen to instrumental music or I'm open to a lot of styles, like with food.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you said about food. Oh my God, you gave me a flashback. Like, when we do photo sessions, we do all the catering that comes in. And I remember we always cater really good, healthy bio food with the right kind of drink and the right stuff, okay? And one of our clients, he said, what is this stuff? I said, it's good for you. Just eat it. You're going to love it. He says, oh, no. He says, I just want like straight white bread with a piece of Kraft cheese. And I said to me, are you kidding me, brother? This is like you want to eat garbage and I just brought you like the filet mignon for your health? Like, what's going on here? So there are people actually who actually enjoy repetition on eating garbage and listening to garbage and thinking that that's their life. You know what I mean? And again, I mean, look at you. You look good. You look healthy. You great dresser, great player. You have a high sense of aesthetic. And this has everything to do with food. And food, eating good food will open your mind to other beautiful things. You know what I mean? That's what I love about food and culture. That's the other great thing about the cultures is the food.
It's also a connecting thing, right? You are excited to try out their food and they try out your food and whatever. But I mean, it was not about judging like someone likes more this stuff or more that stuff. It's more like that there is variety and you can use it. And maybe also a lot of people take more care of what they eat, on how healthy they nutrate themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can also do that sometimes with music, and I'm not talking here about my music specifically, but to understand that what you listen to has a physical and spiritual influence on you, right? So if you listen to a certain kind of vibration all the time, it might be a bit one-sided, or positively said, you can achieve with listening to a certain kind of music is you can achieve something that lifts you up, that makes you healthy, that clears your mind. Like, for example, my wife sometimes puts on Bach, which really surprised me because I like Bach, but I normally would not really listen to it. But when you when you just have it 1 hour in the room, something changes in the air, something which makes you feel, I feel healthier afterwards.
Yeah, you do, because you are what you eat, you are what you hear, you are who you hang out with. You understand? Yeah. You are your friends. You understand?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you get together with a cultural meal that's been around for thousands of years, where you're used to sitting down at the table and talking experiences while you're eating the food and the different flavors. And let's understand that a lot of these foods, it's not like, oh, here's hamburger and French fries. There's multiple kinds of foods that come in different orders and start different conversations, which are not going to happen when you're eating at a McDonald's. Like the conversation that will happen as you're eating a greasy burger and fries cannot be as in depth as when you're sitting down with families discussing the different subjects of happiness, et cetera, or culture while you're eating that food. Because you are what you eat, it's true, because it optimizes your brain. And if your brain is optimized and you feel better, you make different decisions, your ears hear different things. Because if you're not in that mode, the second you see something that's potentially good for you, your ears block it away, your eyes look away. You're not part of it. You don't think, oh, that's not good for me. You don't, because you don't see the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Food, like you say, brings you together. It's like the music itself. It's like the cultures. It's just another aspect to it. It's before you play or after you play. Let's eat. Before we play, let's eat, right? And something happens, like you say, the air changes, right?
Yeah. And you know, there had been a lot of research done on the effect on music, on the plain sound waves onto, for example, water. They made researches that they took different styles of music, put that into ice crystals, and then under the microscope watched how these crystals changed depending on the music that you put on there. There was even a famous, I think it was a Japanese.
I know that doctor that came up with that. They did that with emotions. Negative emotions made the water like kind of aggressive and sharp. And if it was positive, the water was more opened and like flowing. It's got to be kind of the same thing, right?
And then if you imagine that we consist out of how many percent of water?
We're like something like 80%, or we're high
really,
up there.
Really a lot. Some more, some less or so, but really a lot. Huh? So then you can imagine what music actually has on 80% of our body. Huh?
And as you know, we use sound to make a new instrument sound older. And they do that. There's a whole treatment that happens. Well, they'll take a new instrument and they'll bombard it with like shaking it. They'll be putting frequencies, bottom end frequencies, high end frequencies. And this is what happens. I heard that like old rock bands used to take their new instruments and keep their stuff near their speakers. And
in front of the speaker to age it and to get the wood, like to wake up the wood.
I love the whole record. You know, I picked a few songs to talk about because we got several things to talk about and think. But now I want to talk about this last song I want to ask you about. The Promise. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, this is possibly one of the most, pardon my language, beautiful fucking songs I've ever heard in my life, actually.
Man.
I think that this song, let me tell you what it does, because I'm really into analyzing things very precisely when it hits me. I think that this song lets you think clearly inside your head while you're still listening to the music perfectly, giving you the opportunity to actually change something in your life, your destiny. It's not just that the music is great. It might actually change you as a human, and that's really rare, in my opinion, to feel like that. I think I listened to that song on loop 20 times before I went to sleep. It fucked me up, man, actually. And I'm not much of a ballad guy, I'm going to be honest with you. But there is something about the openness, the pauses, exactly how this thing, like, and maybe, you know, because you're hearing it from an outside point of view. You wrote the song, and I'm sure you've heard many things. But I'm telling you, if you listen to that song again on fresh ears, try and think, and you're going to see that it's one of the only songs where you can freely think and have the background, have that song support your thought and let you keep thinking in any direction you want, but that makes you want to become a better person. Fucked up, dude.
Wow, man. You have a very amazing sense for music, man. It's very nice to hear. Wow.
Well, it's the truth, dude. Like, tell me, where did this come from, this song? Is this about your wife? Is this about something personal? What's going on here? Like, there's got to be, it's too perfect. What?
Well, it started off with just one of those ideas that I was writing on, right? And I always studied a lot classical music on the side. Of course, I'm a bass player. I checking out Jaco, Marcus Miller, Larry Graham, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and everything. But I always consumed classical music, Bach, Debussy, because what I love in this music is their way of sophistication of harmonies and lines, how they and the movements of the compositions, because it's really different than jazz and different than pop music, and I found a lot of things that I can take from there. Mm-hmm. And I at that time analyzed a piece from the classical piano player Claude Debussy, and some of his harmonic movements that are not just diatonic but go a little bit to the side, but not in a jazz way. Mm-hmm. But by this enriching the harmonics. This is what I was checking out at that time, and then this is where the basic idea came from, of the melody, of the harmonies, of the mood, Then I was starting to getting my album done and finished and worked really intense on it, while at the same time someone close to me, I cannot really mention who now, but let's say someone super close to me went through an ultra heavy personal time. He had it was something of the worst things you can imagine that actually happened to him. And I had this feeling, wow, I'm now working on my album and I'm working here on my art, while someone so close to me suffers. But I also still wanted to go on working, This person would not like me to stop working on my album, right?
Yeah.
Would not make his or her suffering better. But kind of, I had then a strong urge to work further, but also to express my connection to this person and to my seriousness and that my friendship, that I'm there for her. And this flew then really into this whole thing when I finalized the composition. And
Wow.
This is probably what you also felt. And what is
1000%? There is that human element that is coming through that. Like, I'm telling you, not everybody can capture that shit for real, eh? Like this, I could feel that person and your intention within that. And you know what? Even though that may have been a darker time for that person, what you did is you put hope into this piece.
Oh man, yeah.
I call that melancholy, right? What happens is, because I've always liked kind of darker stuff that is not like dark, like evil shit, but like darker music with a melancholy positive feel at the end. You have hope. It may not be fucking what you think it is, but here we have hope at the end of the song. It's not, okay, you're in the hole, it's fucking over. You know what I mean?
It has a happy end.
Yeah, that's it.
Or let's say there's light at the horizon, right?
Exactly. Light at the end of the tunnel, right? And that gives you a chance to wake up the next day and give yourself another chance. As a player, as a human, as a friend, as a husband and wife, as everything. You see, it so comes clearly. Dude, I'm serious. I think this is one of my favorite songs I have heard in fucking years. And thank you for putting it out. I almost feel emotional talking to you about it right now that you've told me this. I'm telling you, I've got a fucking tear in my eye. I know we're going through this kind of this worldwide thing, and I'm very sensitive to the energy of the world, but I'm telling you, this song has affected me, and I will be putting the music in the background of when we do talk about these songs, and I will be highlighting this thing. Thank you for putting that song out. It's really affected me, and it's fucked me up at the same time. And now that you told me the truth about where it's coming from, I can understand it.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. Hey, man, you're a really intense listener, man. Awesome. Actually, now as you pick out this tune, I could really feel, man, you're a very intense listener, because now this all came back, these memories.
Well, talk about your appreciation for fan frets. that live on the Dingwall bases. A lot of people get all freaked out about that shit and they say, "Ooh, what the hell is this? How does it work?" I know when I got my first Dingwall, I looked at it and I said, "Wow, am I drunk? Am I looking at this thing?" But actually, it took me. I was instantly adapted to it in 5 minutes. It made no difference to me. And then I realized, oh man, this sounds fucking good. What's your take on that?
We talked a lot about on meter beats and kind of this is sort of for like fanned beats, right?
Yeah.
So fan beats, fan frets. Actually, there's a match, right?
Yeah.
Naturally. So I think I was supposed to find those bass guitars. Someone from the German team of Dingwall Guitars introduced me to those basses and let me try them out to record some stuff for them. So this is how I got the first time this J, the Super J in my hand. And I had the same thing like you. I was immediately like, wow, no, I cannot put this out of my hands anymore. And it felt amazingly. And the sound and the response, it was just an amazing experience, an amazing match. Like, bam, like this. Same thing, right? And I remember then I could not get it out of my hands. I only played that thing and these fan frets. And especially when you look from above, it really looks a bit different, right? Like this.
Yeah.
And when I then drove the car, I remember driving car and also my field of view also fanned a little bit. And I was like, oh man, am I taking drugs here or whatever? What is this? But no, it was just the phase of getting adapted to the fan frets, right?
Oh my God. You start looking at your food and your plate and everything looks like it's angled. Everything.
Exactly. And also I immediately felt and understood the approach of it, right? Tension of the E string, precision.
And the B string that just keeps ringing forever. Whoa. Like,
woo, yeah. Or also the high strings that have their own way of singing and overtones.
No, exactly. You know, and I have to say that you have like a particularly clear, punchy sound, like that is very, very in your face and perfect. So, you know, besides when you're using pedals in a way that more drastically changes your bass sound, tell me a little bit about what your core signal chain is to get that kind of top MD fat bass that you got going in. Like, what are you doing? Are you just going into like a compressor and an EQ and boom, bang, that's your sound? Or like, what are we dealing with here?
Well, maybe to start earlier at the fingers, I am actually practicing wise quite busy with the right hand to always get a good sound, a good flow, a good consistency, a good punch, or let's say the right punch. Sometimes you want to have a bit more pillow or whatever, you know, but I sometimes when I have something sophisticated, more complex to play, I would analyze what my movements over the 4 strings is and bring it down to, on the 4-string bass, E, A, D, and G notes, just to see what the isolated from the left hand, what the right hand is doing.
Okay.
Because if one practices technique, you will probably tend to be more busy with the left hand than the right hand. But let's say you have a complex bass line that you really want to get good flow and a perfect consistent sound. I would study the right hand and the combination of E, A, D, G notes, just to get a feeling that the right hand does it by itself. I always compare it like with little bongos. I would play some finger bongos or whatever. But to get the main figure of it, the main riff of a track, really on this higher level, it really starts to feel different, and by that already your sound changes, right? Also, when you figure out the right hand, you eliminate every technical inconsistency, every uncleanness, some dampening that could get better, some string noise. You really perfectionize it, right? Because, and this is a little bit my experience, I like when you don't put the treble off your signal. When you get the trebles through, because they give a certain aliveness and a certain, at least for this melodic stuff that I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
They give a certain sparkle there. And when you get your right hand and your technique right, you don't have to get the trebles off to hide some too much string noise or whatever, you know?
Dude, okay, so let me just get this straight, because I totally agree with you and I know what you're saying. So, but what you're basically saying is that most of your clean core punchy sound is like you have a human EQ compressor that are built into your fingers, and that's where it starts. I couldn't agree with you more. Like when you just said, because I, as a bass player, I love top end. I gotta tell you, like a lot of high end, and like what you just said, I've never heard anybody say that. Controlling it without bringing down the treble. That's fucking good, bro.
At least be able to do it.
Yeah.
Consistency and also the cleanness about that you are able to keep the trebles. I think that is an important element for my stuff, I guess.
And it sounds like it. You're very, very precise and locked. And like I said, the tone, it reminds me of a bridge cable that is coming down and it's very solid, thick, and direct to the point with no questioning whatsoever as to what's happening between and after every note, and
but it's also the instrument, I have to say. It is a very clean, crystal clear, sparkling sound that comes out of there.
Absolutely.
You asked about the signal chain, right?
Yeah.
If I go further from my fingers now, I would come to very good cables. I have Volvox. I find them quite good and a little bit higher range of cable than just the average cable that you would buy or that you maybe would use on an average gig or something,
Oh, absolutely.
Right now, I record always 2 channels parallel.
Yeah.
And for that, I use each different DI. Not a preamp, just a DI, but a very, very good DI. The one is, Brent Averill Audio.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
It's a small machine. It's just has a gain and a volume, but it gives really this neve richness, sparkling in there. And as a second channel, I mix to it a red DI from, I think, A Designs is the company.
Yeah, A Designs. Oh, okay. Well, dude, you're going with the 2 best channels on earth. This is this is it. Like parallel recording is key to having a smashing, clear, punchy sound.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and then you have like the Neve clone gives an amazing, rich and beautiful. I feel like that's the how you say this in English.
It gives it a natural compression, also, right? There's a natural compression that kind of comes out of that box, right? Which is really good.
Surely I'm missing an important English word, but maybe I can describe myself again by comparing to food.
Yeah.
Like you have this meatball and you make it really crusty from the outside, but not too dry, but not too juicy. It's just perfect, right?
Yeah.
And that is for me what the Neve clone does. And the inside, the meatiness, the nice, the meaty,
juiciness.
This filling. This does for me the red DI. That's a full tube thing. And I use that for a nice, beautiful filling. So,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for sharing that with us. So now I want to talk to you about your love of effects. Okay, so I couldn't agree with you more on having so many cool possibilities to like express yourself as a bass player, and I'm gonna push it one step further when it comes to what I think you get back when you go in that direction as a bass player. Now, listen carefully, guys. This is going out to all you bass players out there who think there is no use for effects because you say, well, then it's not a bass anymore, right? Okay. I think that normally most bass players need someone else to play with, or they'll have to play against a track or something, But when you start using the right effects in the right way, you automatically become a better writer, arranger, producer, creator, especially when you start playing your bass like a piano, like a guitar, or even like a saxophone in its approach. You wind up with a more professional, full-sounding killer soundtrack that is all bass, that nobody thinks is actually all bass. Now, who doesn't want that kind of freedom as an expression as a bass player, right? You know the way, there's a group of bass players out there that besides a fuzz or just a distortion, they say, oh, we don't need no effects. I personally could never live like that. I've had people say, oh, you don't play bass because you put all these effects on it. Like, okay, we don't care about that shit, people like you and I. But talk to us about the magic, because I watch you play different parts, different things with different effects, and how it just takes you into another land. And I think it has helped you expand and become a full-blown freaking producer as opposed to just a straight-up bass player, right?
While I actually still think I am trying to use as less effects as possible, but the ones I use, I try to really feel them, really
sections, right? I mean, it's about overlays.
Yeah, and really check them out, really integrate them into my musicianship, into my musical ideas. And I think I do a lot also live with a simple tap delay.
Yeah.
Because I love to create this space. I love to create this psychedelic moods. I love to sometimes give just subtle space to it, what you're playing. But as it is a tap delay, you can tap it on you do the dotted eighth note, right?
Yeah.
And it, of course, also is important then, makes you responsible that you tap it right and that you play in a good time. So this interaction with the delay and the constant staying locked in and staying locked in the right time.
Yeah.
This is what requires that to do, and of course really involves you then deeper into the music and to practice. I do a lot of filter stuff as well. I like the touch wah, and also to use a touch wah, right? Of course you have to really feel
dynamics
the attack.
Again.
Yeah, you have to feel the attack, right? You have to really get the range of expressions that this pedal has for you, that the filter is running, that you really can play with that. And as I said, I don't use so many more. I use sometimes still a wah as well. But that's for the most of the stuff that it's already, and that keeps me busy enough, actually.
And that's all you need, because you have your core bass sound. But what I like especially when you're the only string player in a duo, for instance, if you only had one sound and you were not able to shift into some different type of environments where all of a sudden you feel like, you got your filter, your delay on, and you're creating something that sounds exactly like a synth arpeggiator line, but is coming from a tapping situation that you are creating manually. I don't know, man. That turns my fucking crank like big time. Because then it's a section, you turn it off, and boom, you're back into into your bass sound that is real bass, right? Like, so it's like you're more than a bass player. Everything I do, I never put anything but bass in it. There's a lot of things I do where people think, there's got to be keyboards and shit in it. There is no keyboards. It's only bass, no guitars, no shit. And I love that. Because it's exactly like you say, everything's got to go into its own place. There's a pocket for a feeling, an expression. You feel like this, and all of a sudden, bam, you take them somewhere else because you popped the switch, and now you got that new section going on.
Yeah, man. And I especially like this kind of dub feeling that you can do with a delay, And sometimes I have a DJ controller here, and I have this tap delay on the floor, and sometimes I go back and forth and turn on the delay knob of the beat on my delay machine. Then I would go down and turn on the delay knob of my bass sound and really let him scream and really, flip out. And I love this kind of stuff. It has sometimes, really this old school dub approach. I love that.
Wow, dude. No, and let me say, you do it particularly well. Again, the world is really lucky to have been able to experience a human being that can actually do this in real time. You know what I mean? It's really the bouncing from one skill set to the next seamlessly locked to beat, to me, is like being very clear in your mind. And that is such a beautiful flow. Like that train that's rolling at 200 miles an hour. Boof. Straight line, straight pipe. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand that you're working on a new album and you're finishing a book that will be released at Alfred Music, and that is about your perspectives on bass lines, grooves design, and rhythm in general. By the way, I love your words that you put together, groove design. I think it really suits you in the sense that everything you do, I think, has a design aspect going on at all times. You have strong lines, you've got defined angles, and sharp directions going on in all your creations. Talk to me a little bit about this book.
Well, actually, what we talked about right in the beginning from the interview, actually, that's what the book is about.
Okay.
As simple as that.
When is the world going to be blessed with the finished book? And when is it going to be in Alfred's there?
2 years I already told everyone that it's soon going to be finished. And I tell you now, it's soon gonna be finished.
Okay, soon gonna be finished.
No, but no, I have really. My goal is to finish it latestly in November. I am closely working together already with the publisher about really final design aspects and requirements for the formattation and stuff. So
we can be hoping for a Christmas release then.
Oh, I think that might be too soon because the publisher still needs some time in between to really release it. Unfortunately, I probably will not make it, but I think for Easter.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. So this is going to be amazing. Early 2021 then.
Yes.
That's going to be phenomenal. Now, what about your new record that you're working on? So, like, what I want to know is, how is this one going to differ in your evolvement from the last one that you did? Like, where are we at on that? You must have learned and seen a bunch of things that are going to make you evolve in yet another way. Give us some meat on that.
It's definitely a development. That's true. One thing is I collect my ideas again, like I did preparing the first album. But the ideas I collect, I already really directly record them.
Yeah.
Right? To really get more really of this pure moment of this idea. I'm receiving a new riff, a new composition, and then I try to record it right away in the sound quality as it is supposed to be later on the album. Right? And actually the Corona times makes it also easier possible because I'm more often here. I can easier, when I have the idea, go down and record. And the first album was more like, hey, prepare, compose, rehearse, and then go to the studio, which I love too. But now I'm focusing on, really grasping those moments where the compositions originated, you know. And I will have again a mix of odd meters and straight meters as well. And I think what I also want to do is, my first album is full of drums and percussion. There's 3 percussion players, 1 drummer. But actually, I had everything pre-produced and pre-programmed. Like this tabla that I told you. Mm-hmm. Everything was pre-produced. Every bongo, every conga, most of the shakers I already had programmed before. Mm-hmm. And I loved the work together and all of these recording sessions, and so much I learned and so much spirit came into there. But right now, I would like to get my pre-programmings also to become really the programs that you're gonna hear on the album. Oh, they're gonna be added a little bit drums on top and a little bit percussion to give a flavor on top. But the basic feeling is supposed to be really from the programmings this time. And at the same time, they're gonna be a little bit more simplistic, not so much, not so huge full anymore as my first album, where I really had these big walls of drums and overdubs and stuff, and still some loops as well in there. So it's gonna be a little bit more air in there, a little bit more simplistic, but still, again, I will have some nice beats in 7, 5, and 9 in there again. You know,
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And of course, you're going to be drawing again from all your years of cultural, different musical diversity. I was going to say this to you before. You know, the amazing thing about all this cultural diversity when it comes to music is this. That music and those people have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
I find that that's what has happened with a lot of the music when it comes to what I call, flash in the pan music. And again, I'm not insulting anybody because it's all been good and necessary. But these older styles of music that come around from thousands of years that everybody bases themselves on from now till the end of time have got that deep, deep, deep connection that is what we can all hope that we can get affected by before we hit our instruments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Letting that in is got to be like one of the biggest gifts. And I was thinking about that a lot when I was listening to all your stuff you do, and
cool.
How lucky I felt that you were and I was to be able to hear somebody absorb that much culture and spit it back out in his own way. You know what I mean?
And you know what it also is when you discover, like what you say with 1,000-year-old music, like or rhythmical rich cultures like Indian or Arabic music. It's so deep. It's so such amazing big world. But it's also nice when you can translate this music somehow to a modern set of instrument and music production.
Oh,
Right? It's like, just imagine, sometimes you have like songs from the 80s, recordings from the 80s, and they're actually really amazing songs, but they're a bit hard to listen to because there's this weird reverb on the drums or strange synthesizers or whatever.
Sounds, yeah.
Right? But if you just translate such a song, or in that case, a rhythm from that, and translate it away from maybe these traditional instrumentation, which gives, well, I love it, but you can translate the flavor also away from to a more modern setup, and then feel what is all in this music apart from the traditional instrumental setup of tabla or these instruments they use, right?
Oh, totally. I couldn't agree with you.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. Felipe told me that sometimes, like, you work with your wife and stuff like that, right? Like, or she's part of your integral kind of what it is you do. I know I've been working with my wife for 36 years right now. She's my best friend. She does everything with me. We're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we never fight. Wow. We don't get sick of each other. And, we fill each other's things. She's a master photographer, singer, writer, Photoshopper, After Effects girl. She knows like 20 things. Like she's a master, and I do the other things. And together we work like that. Are you that kind of guy too with your wife, or?
Yeah, man. It's absolutely the same. It's,
he told me that we were kind of similar on that song.
Yeah, I told you already her influence and her co-producing style, how she's involved in the musical way. And I mean, I am amazing, blessed that I found the woman of my life, and she is basically the reason why I am at home in the Netherlands and in Germany, because I met her here. I was on tour. I met her here. And it was an amazing, perfect match. And now we're 10 years. 10.
Oh, amazing. That's good.
11 years together. And we do work a lot together. She is also a photographer. She is busy with camera. She's good with video stuff and editing also.
Oh,
she writes.
Nice.
Yeah, she writes, and she also... is a freelancer in social media marketing, and some things just match good, and we work together. We never fight. That's not true. We fight, but we, in a good way. We also make up again, and it brings us further. And
that's amazing.
Good to hear. It's amazing to hear from you that you have this kind of thing already. Then 20 years longer, and I'm really, I'm happy to hear that.
It's possible, and as a matter of fact, if you can pull that off, because I've always said there's different kind of relationships. If you don't find that complimentary one, and you're going out, say, with a musician, and you're better than her or him, then they're going to want you to turn them into what you are, and it could become quite the mess. But when you have that kind of complimentary 360 where you...
Yeah, and when you say you're 36 years together, it sounds from the outside like it's something stable. But I think this kind of stability is actually a permanent growth. And really staying long together is the secret is that you constantly grow, and that you allow the other one to grow.
Yes.
That you even give the other one the freedom to grow in a direction that you maybe in that moment don't think if you really want that. But naturally, if your partner can grow and you allow him to grow, you will always can grow with him, and it's always for the best of each other, and will always bring the best out of each other, right? And that's the beauty of it. So it looks from the outside stable, but in the inside, it's growth. It's all about growing together further.
So cool when you have a woman by your side that can do that with you, eh? So happy
awesome.
for you guys.
Man, that was nice to hear, man. Very nice.
Tell me something. What do you do when you're not playing bass, dude? There's got to be some cool things that you can surprise me with, because I say this, if you're this precise in life with who you are and what you do, you have to be freaking precise in other stuff in the same way. Give it to. Are you a painter? Are you a mechanic? Are you some kind of super cook? Like, what's going on?
Well, the thing is, I'm definitely a person who, what he chooses to do, he does it at least 100%, because I want to get the best out of it and be the best. And when I have an idea, or compose some freaky stuff, I also want to be the one who can 100% perform it right, and that's then already quite another game, right?
Yeah.
I always had this when I was young and starting to compose my stuff. I always had in my head, "Hey man, I want to be a creative guy, but I also want to be someone who does not, lose it and cannot play his own shit. I want to be compose freaky stuff, and I also want to really nail it, right?" And that is probably my personality. And I have hobbies, but I don't do something so amazingly on the side, you know. I really do just a lot of music. I play guitar. That's a bit my hobby.
Okay, so guitar's the thing, but I mean, there's got to be something
guitar.
else. There has to be something else that you also like. Do you draw? Do you paint? How about cooking? You just let your wife do the cooking and you won't cook?
No, of course. I love cooking, and as I love a lot of different music, I cook a lot of different stuff. I can my sushi is quite good, I have to say.
Oh,
and
sushi, that's complicated, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love this rolling stuff. I like to roll it. Awesome. And then I like to cook Surinamese because my wife is half Dutch, half Surinamese.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of that country.
No.
It's a small.
Where is that?
Yeah, it's a small country in South America. It's between Guyana and Venezuela. Hang on, was it Venezuela? No. It's between French Guyana and Brazil.
Oh, so she speak Portuguese or Spanish or?
No, you know what? They speak Dutch. And they speak an own kind of Dutch as well, I should not call it an own Dutch. They speak like a mixed language, which only exists there. And this country has a fascinating history. It used to be a colony from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And they actually exchanged that for New York City.
What?
They gave New York away and got Suriname for that, which was at that time a piece of pretty jungle-ish situation. So they started to make plantages there, and at that time, of course, very sad. This country had also a slave history. Once slavery was over, the Dutch business guys had to replace the workers and got 10,000 people from India, 10,000 from Indonesia, 10,000 people from China. In this small country, it has something between 300 or 500,000 people. Really, really not much. It's a small population for this kind of country, and its biggest part is jungle. But you have on a very small society, you have amazing lots of different cultures in this small community there.
Wow!
And this is translated in the kitchen: Indian food, Indonesian, Chinese, mixed with Dutch food, with Caribbean food. And when you go to a Surinamese restaurant, you can have dishes who are more, they call it in Javanese because the people came from Java or Hindustans. But you also have dishes which really mix those cultures also.
Hybrid, a complete hybrid of food, right?
It's awesome. You have to try it somewhere if you see it anywhere. It's awesome. I love it, man.
How are you handling the situation that we're presently going through as artists? I mean, everything that the live scene knows has drastically been altered, and a new way is going to be born because of it. I've seen this happen before. How do you feel about that and adapting and looking? Are you looking at this as an opportunity or as a deterrent?
Well, my life right now and before the corona was actually a constant growth and a constant change. I was going through changes anyway, developing my music, living in both countries. I was actually always focused on growth and change. And now this challenge, and it is definitely a challenge, but it's still a change. So I believe I can make something out of it. It's a change maybe in a bit with a different spin that I hoped for or that I planned for. But I was not having a static kind of career or business model that suddenly gets shaken through. It was dynamic and changing anyway. Plus, I would say in my life, I already went through quite some challenges. So, not through a pandemic, but through quite some existential challenges. I feel like it's not overwhelming. Let's say it like this. It's challenging, yes, and was some. Everyone probably has sometimes hard moments where you really have to sit your ass down and think and try to get your mind clear and see what you need to do or what you can do. But it feels for me these mechanisms are already there. This muscle is a certain kind of crisis muscle I have already through some stuff that I already had to go through in my life. So.
Wow, that is very well put. I love the way you put that because I do think that the music industry in general had hit a peak anyways. You know what I mean? Something had to change between the old system and the new system.
It was not perfect before the corona, right?
No. We hit a peak.
Yeah, it was not like everything was so good and then corona hit and now everything is so bad. I mean, it's very hard right now, and it's really So it's a serious threat, but it was not perfect before.
No, and this is an opportunity, I truly think, for people to say, hey, you know what? Other doors are now going to open for real because they have to. We're being reinvented right now. And reinvented, what does that mean, right? It's not like all of a sudden everybody's going to invent a whole new style of music with a whole new set of scales that nobody's ever heard before. That's not the answer. The answer is now that the highway is going to be more wide open for the people who are willing to invest into their futures as opposed to investing into their fear factor, right? Because when you're investing into your fear factor, you're not driving. You're sitting there parked, fucking panicking, switching the radio stations, waiting for somebody to tell you that something's going to be different, right? As opposed to driving forward, following the basic rules, but still moving forward as if nothing was happening. This is such an opportunity, and I'm afraid that most people are going to stay parked in their cars for a while before feeling that they're safe enough to go out there and drive anyways, right? And that's what you're doing, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what we encourage you guys to do out there also. I think it's very important for you to look at this as an opportunity to reinvent yourself in many ways, whereas you wouldn't have had the time before. And the competition is actually going to be less if you were worried about competition. Because again, most people will be listening to I'm Getting Fucked FM when you could be listening to I'm Moving Forward FM. You see what I mean? And this is the channel that we need to be on in this situation, you know?
Yeah. And probably no one really has a perfect answer what to do, right?
Yeah.
But when you look back, one thing is sure, that the music business always changed dramatically. And that since the music business exists, it changed. And since the music business existed, people were afraid that it would die out. Yeah. From when they, in the year, when was it, in the year 20s, they had this trend to the home piano, that everyone would buy a piano. Musicians were afraid that everyone has a piano at home, makes his music himself, and does not listen to live bands anymore. Or like the vinyl, the records when they came out. People were also afraid that people would not listen to live music anymore.
Exactly.
And I don't want to now, diminish the situation right now. It's really heavy, but there needs to be a reinvention, and maybe the music business gave a lot up in the last decades. Like sales, making money out of simple music sales got harder and harder. So you focused more on live gigs. But that also got harder now, or is even impossible. So there needs to be something else, something new, some new model, some proceeding, which I maybe also don't see it, but it had always been there, and it will be there too. Then I think I have this belief, and when you have this belief, you can, like you said, drive further.
Give me one piece of advice that you can give to musicians in creation out there who want to take their career or their potential career to the next level.
I think right now the situation is so existential that you have to really go deep inside yourself and really feel what your personal mission is, right? And really maybe meet that as intense and privately as you ever did before, right? Without constantly every day thinking you have to make a picture of that and put that onto Instagram. Really give it some time. Really figure out what is your mission here, because you have to right now. It's partly a desert that we have to walk through, and the effort that it takes, you can only do that when you really have a mission, right? Otherwise, it does not make sense to go through this desert. Otherwise, you can take another job or whatever. Or really go into something, some other direction. But if you're willing to go through this, that you focus really on your mission, find out what it is, and make it as big, as perfect as possible. Be the best in that you can do, and see it as an investment in a greater future. Because right now, when you want to go further, you can only do this when you build for a bigger future, right? You can only because we have to reinvent, and you can only reinvent when you believe in something that comes afterwards. So I think you need to. I have my vision. Everyone has his thing, and maybe someone is a sideman, someone is a composer, producer, or whatever it is, and maybe it's like you said, maybe the best time ever to try and dare to do something that you maybe in the old times did not dare because you thought the noise was too loud out there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the perfect moment for that, but then really go deep and find out, be in contact with yourself and with your mission, why you are a musician, why you think you have your space and your claim in the business.
Wow, that is very, very well said. Guys, listen to that advice because we couldn't agree more. If you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. That is 100% sure. Where's the best place for people to check out anything that's got to do with Phil Rehm here? Give us, where can people check out all Phil Rehm stuff? What's going on?
Yes, www.philiprehn.com, and on Facebook also Phil Rehm. I always have to figure out how I pronounce my name the best in the international English-speaking realm. Because in German you pronounce it Phil Rehm. But I don't know how you pronounce Philip right in English, like Philippe or Felipe or Philippe.
I would say Philip Rehm. Is it Rehm? Is that right for a North American guy to sell it like that, or am I missing a ch or some kind of accent in there?
No, ours good, but the H in German makes the E longer, so you would say like Philip Rehm, actually.
Rehm, okay.
But maybe I should work on an artist name that's Phil R. My logo is already Phil R. Maybe I go a bit for that, makes it maybe easier.
Well, anything you do will blow people's minds as you move forward. And my friend, I want to tell you, I want to thank you so much for this quality interview where we covered lots of ground on what I think is important and showcases your amazing talent, bro, to the freaking world. Moving forward, you have your head screwed on right. You got your priorities right. You got your relationship in check. You got your personal desires in check. You're musically open. You're culturally educated, and you appreciate what needs to be appreciated so that you can regurgitate it into the Phil Rehm, void that you're looking to put out there and make it happen. You know what I mean? It's amazing, and it's been a great time tripping and talking with you, my brother.
Yeah, man, this was really awesome, man. It was man, let's do this again. Was very exciting to talk to.
You've been listening to Philip Rehm, man, talking about life and bass right here on the Dingwall Podcast. My name is Momo, and what can I tell you? You guys totally rock. And go for the bass, go for the bottom end, and go for life. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. See you next time.
Taka taka